And by the way, Cascon, I am relying him a little bit to carry me through the draft parts of this. I definitely can talk all day long up and down about certain matchup intricacies, the micro side of the game, and Cascon definitely has much more of the overall brain-oriented side of the game. But here, so coming into game number 1, Oxygen, Chili Mountain on this Garden of Terror, I noticed, of course, like I was just saying a moment ago, the double global. Cascon, you know the Cavalier Guest just loves his double global drafts. He loves...
Oh, yeah. He does.
Yeah, it's huge. He's been a huge fan of them ever since some EU HGC team ran them. Which team was that?
Ever since Fnatic would use globals on Curse, and like they would give tributes just to push other lanes. And if you responded to the globals, then they would just fight to the tribute and beat you up. It was
the ability with double globals to just play for eternal split push pressure, like, oh, they pressured something, okay, we just push opposite, or we can just global in, we can take any kind of skirmish. It might suffer at times from weaknesses in the straight up 5-on-5, but the ability to just pressure the map by a team that's communicating with each other that knows when to push up is just so massive.
Yeah. Especially on like a massive map like Garden, right?
Mm-hmm. For sure. And then also, of course, Flex Imperious. Hello, Flex Imperious. Elephant in the room.
So season 1, when I was drafting for Oxygen, we tried Flex Imperious a decent amount. We had good success with it, but we could never play it publicly.
Oh, okay.
This game, when I first saw the Flex Imperious, I thought they were trolling. Because they have no ways to do camps. Their early game is... Well, Chili Mountain has Grey Mane Sylvanas, 2 really strong early game heroes who are just going to push buildings, and you have nothing to do with them.
So if they can get out of a bit of a rocky early game, yeah, because the snowball threat, when you're against a team that has this much push early game and they maybe can just force some camps and just get some strong push, the snowball always a concern, but a lot of teams are really good at just getting to the late game. The game itself helps you get to the late game a lot in the current state of the game. So
every change we've had has made it easier to get to level 20. So
okay, so we've got our double global here. Cascon, you thought it was trolling, but we're going to see how this game turns out and see how it's not trolling, perhaps.
It's definitely not trolling.
Okay, definitely not. And I will say, just touching on one last thing for this draft here, I've been singing the praises of Flex Imperious for years. Okay, chat? All right, years. Okay, because offlane, meh. Tank, meh. I like my tanks in offlane, my front line to have a little bit more vision control, maybe some more ability to peel for the team, maybe my offlaners to have a little bit better gank resistance and wave clear early game. And Imperious is one of those heroes that really just needs to be set up, right? Like if he has set up for his Qs so that he can consistently land it, such as in the form of a Brightwing or a Muradin, then it just makes the character so much more consistent. So I really like that Flex Imperious pickup right there from Oxygen. Now, let's actually take a look at what goes down in the game itself. And I remember a really interesting decision right here, Cascon. I remember they decided to cheese mid, right?
Yeah, you never see this. Like, normally when you have Sylvanas Grey Mane, you choose a side lane. You, like, go to a side lane and you try and get a free tower.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is metagaming. I think Oxygen are prepared for the cheese, so Chili Mountain are like, let's just push mid, because they're all preparing in the side lanes.
And they free tower. We saw it right there. Oxygen devoted their 2 frontline heroes to the top side, and then they put Hanzo to Haka bot side. So they only had Brightwing in the middle, and I think that they were just anticipating that any side lane would get pushed. So they get a little bit of damage, mostly to gate more than to anything right there. Yeah. But hey, any free damage that you can get without dying is huge. What's up?
What Bad Benny does here is insane as well. Like,
so what's up?
No, you go.
Okay, so I want to talk about here. I'm going to talk about a lot of things throughout we go as we go through these CCL games that might be obvious to players that are like, oh, Master, GM, CCL, HGC, whatever. But right here, just as Cascon was talking about, the vision control from Bad Benny is so huge. Gunner, thank you for the raid. Appreciate you here as we talk about CCL and what happened on Saturday. And of course, chat, this is just something, going back into this, thank you again, Gunner. This is something that's so huge when you watch competitive Heroes of the Storm versus ladder, is notice the camp timings, okay? Notice how soon teams are on it. Here, Oxygen, honestly, this is a little bit late getting onto this 4 seconds after it spawns.
3 to 4 seconds late, but as soon as they spawn, they walk to it, so...
This is definitely a game about, just in general, not even this game, I'm talking about Heroes of the Storm, about crisp camp timings and getting to them right away. And notably, notice how Bad Benny right here, not Bad Bunny, despite what my casting in the past...
No, it's Bad Bunny. I'm dedicated to calling Bad Bunny at least once today.
Alrighty, Bad Bunny is here scouting out on the enemy siege camp, and he knows where CM is, and he's trying to just establish vision for the enemy team, as well as, let's see right here, just you get some deep scouting. Muradin himself, a hero that is able to escape being very deep because of that health bar and the ability to jump over walls with his dwarf toss, as well as the fact that his HP bar is expendable, because he can always just get it back. So talk a little bit about the dynamic here between these two tanks as they step up to this siege camp, Cascon.
Yeah, so Bad Bunny as a Muradin, you are very safe. You just want to get as much vision as you can, and Masquerade's doing the right thing. Masquerade wants to keep vision of Bad Bunny, but I was going to call him Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny. It's harder, it seems. Masquerade wants to keep vision of Bad Bunny, so he can't look for any invade, he can't pressure his backline. And the reason Masquerade can't be on the other side of the map is because he has no mobility. As a Stitches, if you're on the other side of the map and you get CC'd, you are just gonna die. Whereas in Muradin, you get CC'd, yeah, whatever, you jump out, you're fine.
So Mask is scouting more on his own team's side than on the other team's side. What's up?
However, in this case, Bad Benny jumped in on the other side of the map, and that's not allowed.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit right in the draft where you said that you thought the major concern for Oxygen was falling behind in the early game and getting snowballed on in this match, and we saw right there, Oxygen, with the weaker early game, went for the invade on the Bruisers. And I think that that's something that's just kind of illegal, right? With the situation that you have.
In general, it's a play that... It's good with double globals, right? If you can force a 5v4 on the enemy side of the map and maybe get a kill, maybe get a camp, it can be good. But Dahaka... I think even 5v4, their comp is worse in our team fighting right now.
I could see it, yeah. And I mean, Greymane's all the way down here and they're still not able to take this fight, yeah.
And even if they win this fight, Greymane will just push bot fort, right? And realistically, you're going to get the same value on each side.
Here's this moment, remember? I almost wonder, is this EU ping right here? Bad Benny wants to get on this capture, but then he gets all the way capped and then he jumps in.
Oh, that's the thing, though.
Yeah. If they get on point, that fight certainly goes much better, but as soon as they don't get it, it's just completely bad.
Yeah, you can't fight into the spell armor.
And that's a common thing. Just bruiser advantages really dictating where you can take advantage, where you can take fight. As soon as they step onto it, they just gotta get out. They wanted to invade that so CM can't push into them with Greymane and Sylve. Yeah, the idea, I think, makes sense. The jump, unfortunately, was just a little cursed in being a little too late right there. No, I get what you're saying there, Pebbles.
They did commit everyone, so like they thought they would win if they got the point, and maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it definitely goes much better if they saw the cap.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons to go for that. If they could have forced the 5v4, honestly, just minor timing difference right there really changed a lot, and that's going to show up a lot, guys. I will say right there, HotS is a game about just getting there 1 second before the other guy, doing your camp a few seconds earlier or later. The crisp timing differences that go into Heroes of the Storm are numerous, and we're going to be able to go over a lot of them as these games go on right here. What's up?
Even on this like frame, you can see the double global are the two in the side lanes, even though it's a Brightwing. Most people would just like stick Imperius in the side lane where Brightwing is right now, help defend the Greymane.
That's going to be... Yeah, that's huge. That's going to be a consistent theme, is you're going to see a lot of globals get played here today, chat. And very consistently, when there is a hero that could be offlaning, but they don't have a global, instead you're going to see a Brightwing or a Falstad take their offlane, and that hero is going to join the 4-man right there. Because, of course, you want to be taking advantage of that global pressure on the entire map.
Actually, something I didn't notice in the game is that Chili Mountain are a full level up right now.
I mean, that fight was just so disastrous.
Yeah, they're so far behind now.
And of course, they only took 1 camp going in before this first objective compared to 3 from CM. You hate to see it. But, hey, a little bit of shaky early game ain't the worst thing in the world in
Yeah, I
Heroes
mean,
the
the
Storm.
Hawk isn't meant to win the early game with Oxygen anyway, so it's fine. They just want to stop the push.
And then right here, this was an important moment to talk about. You're going to see Nick's going to flank in as Imperious, expecting this CC chain on the kill target to be longer, and he actually just barely misses out. Masquerade's not going to get CC'd long enough. So here you see Bad Benny stuns on the Muradin, or stuns on the Stitches, and Dahaka doesn't have Q. What was he using it on?
Oh, doesn't he?
Yeah, because we saw this kill, and we saw him miss it when we were watching.
Oh, he went for a raw Q. So that's something you can't do on Dahaka. Going for raw Qs is fine, but it needs to, like, have a chance to hit. If your opponent is mounted, it's never going to hit. And Masquerade was just sitting on mount, 30% move speed, and you're on ping.
The way I think about cooldowns in HOTS is essentially whenever you use an ability, you're making a bet that you don't have a better cast for it while that ability's on cooldown, in a way. And so Copen right here, when he Qs, well, Bad Benny's coming in for the rotation, and now he just doesn't have the follow-up. You can take those gamble Qs if you're not gonna expect to play with your team in the near future, but with the knowledge that this is about to happen, I almost wonder if Oxygen had a bit of miscommunication about this pressure on mid lane.
I think it might have been.
Because I think Copen may not have expected that they were going to fight, but watch this now. Bad Benny lands the stun onto Masquerade, and they have Dahaka and Brightwing here. This guy should get chain CC for a while, but Dahaka's missing the tongue right here. No tongue, so he gets polyed. And when he should be...
That was really good poly timing.
Oh, like, absolutely.
That was as the stun ended, the poly came out. That was insane.
Yeah, Yasuo just is absolutely crazy, and Yasuo hits a bunch of huge CCs that we're going to talk about as we go through this, especially in the later games when he's up against a Lucio. And so without the critical Dahaka Q, Nick comes in and he stabs as if this guy's not going to move, and then misses the stab onto Masquerade. So I think a lot of that can be traced down to just that raw Q attempted from Copen, and any potential miscommunication that may have caused it about not 100% sure where your teammates are rotating, what they want to do, or maybe it's just a little bit of a lazy Q. Who knows? Welcome,
Yeah, I think
everyone.
Miscommunication. It's like if you're like in Storm League when you're playing Li Ming, if you raw orb something and your tank engages in the next 3 seconds, then it feels terrible because you don't have orb up for the engage. So you need to be watching your team and know when you want to look for something.
And then I remember there was a moment right here, so we just saw Ultralisk use his black arrows mid just for a tower. Oh, Copen landing the tongue, but not able to get him past it. Yeah, and we were wondering...
Yeah, it's 15-second cooldown.
We were wondering why Ultralisk didn't black arrows this on the push. It was popped prematurely in mid right there. I think they thought they could get a push, and then maybe multiple members of Oxygen showed. I'm watching this from CM's perspective. They can see 4 members out of Oxygen, so there shouldn't be any surprises. And Ultralisk gets a little trigger happy with wailing arrows, or with black arrows right there, shuts the structure off, but they knew everybody here was here. So I think that just comes down to Ultralisk wasting the CD a bit before they go onto this top fort, and now they don't have the black arrows. What's up?
This is even another situation of that happening, right? If the team wants to push top, you have to save black arrows for that top push. You can't just use it mid, because then it won't be up. Like, you have to know, are we going to push in the next 40 seconds?
Yep. And then teammates overextend. They don't have any Sylph black arrows, so they just get caught out and die. It's a huge thing right there. Copen uses Q when his team's going to need it. They miss out on a kill. Sylv uses black arrows when her team is going to need it. They miss out on a 4th kill, and they lose out on that top push right there. 2 situations of just using your cooldowns right before your teammates are going to need them and not being aware.
And this kill is actually really bad for Chile Mountain, because you have the better early game. You don't want to be on the back foot with 1 dead. You want to be allowed to, like, open the map up and then have a chance to look for those Stitches hooks in the late game.
And then there's one big thing that happens here with Oxygen and CM and bot lane. So Copen gets rotated on by Dino, and a big part, you ask a lot of CCL players, what should Greymane be doing? And they say hitting buildings. All right. Greymane players spend a lot of time just split pushing opposite of objective, just slapping buildings, because he does a lot of sustained damage. And one thing right here that we're going to note that I thought was really big in the moment was, in order to be able to push right now and get some split push value, Chili Mountain doesn't wait for the wave to show up. Dayquaza just drops a bunker right here. Look, Dayquaza bunkers for this, and this allows them to get more push pressure onto it. Dayquaza gets outplayed by Copen, though. I didn't see this. This wasn't on the stream. I was like, how does Blaze die here? I was actually so curious when we were watching this on the CCL stream because this didn't get shown on camera, but it turns out it's actually Dayquaza trying to peel for Dino. I think if Dino was on the right side of the fort, if he was...
Dino should have run to the other side to get closer to the bunker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead he runs to the left, which is more of like a Stormwing player mindset, rather than running to your team.
I think being in bunker gives him the opportunity to reset fort aggro whenever he needs it, allows him to juke out the Dahaka a bit, but then Dino goes left, necessitating, at least in Dayquaza's mind, some peel. So then Dayquaza tries to peel Copen off of Dino, but Copen can just react to it, barely in time, actually.
Even on ping, he can react to it.
Yeah, Blaze has a huge wind-up, because there's the initial animation, and then the travel time, so it's a very reactable, even on ping.
And then he uses his level 4 stun to get the drag for free.
Yeah, I think if Dino goes to the right a little bit right there, instead towards the bunker, that's a pretty free fort without losing the Blaze, but it's still good to use your ability to make any kind of NPC. If you have a Nubarak Beetles, if you have a Blaze Bunker, if you have Zagara Summons, just anything that you can plop down enables you to push down those structures, and that's huge whenever you have a hero that does a lot of building DPS, like Greymane. He's one of the highest in the game. Zul's also up there with certain W talents. There's a couple different options. Karazim, while he has his E up, is one of the highest building damage characters.
Yeah.
Just a couple things that you can abuse that spawning of characters to get the push value. So even though the execution was a little botched from CM, there's still something good to take there.
And I think you can even argue, even though Blaze died, that trade was good for Chiller Mountain. Right, they got the full fort. They want to open up the map for the Stitches in the late game.
And then this also comes up into play so many times in this series right here, is Stitches just getting abused by multiple members of Oxygen. I think this also comes up especially in other series, but the Wrath of the Anguirus, I think, is such an interesting tech into Stitches. Because when Imperius pulls Stitches into the sky, if Stitches has anybody gorged, they automatically get ungorged. So if Imperius is nearby whenever a teammate gets hook gorged, he can just yank them right back out of Stitches. Also, Stitches doesn't really have any mobility. The closest thing he has is Shambling Horror, which allows him to not be slowed, but lower than 110% move speed.
He can't press that if he's stunned off of the...
Yeah, and I mean, it's still not even going to be enough to save him a lot of times. So Oxygen is more than content to just take advantage of this Stitches right here. And I think that he's such a magnet target for these Dragon Arrows, for Stormbolt, and Wrath of the Anguirus is a gorge counter, and it's also going to leave Stitches multiple times in situations that he just cannot escape from.
Imperius even took Burn the Impure on level 1, which is like an extra 3%, 2.5? 2%, 2.5% of the hero's max health, meaning they just want to kill the Stitches all game. They know their win con is, okay, Stitches is walking up, we wrath him, and now he's dead. We CC chain.
Absolutely. Also very good into Blaze, and if you CC chain Blaze, then he can't get into bunker, but the execution's got to be very good.
I think this response from Chiller Mountain is really good here, by the way.
Yeah, taking the Bruiser camp? Or no,
Oxygen taking the bot Bruiser camp. Because Oxygen are showing 4-man top camp, so then you think, how can we respond? What can we get off the map? And they go and take bot camp for free.
Just a little bit of a trade right there. Both teams, and now we're going into this objective. I'm looking at my notes for what we saw. Oh yeah, and part of why Oxygen was able to win that past objective fight in the top side was because they knew they had number advantage. Because they knew both... Yep, Greymane and Blaze bot, even though they were 9v10, they could just 4v3 top lane. And they had Dahaka, who could always Z in to make it a 5-on-3 as well. So that was a good recognition, because a lot of people think like there's no reason to ever fight down 9 versus 10, when a lot of times it's really there's no reason to take an even fight down 9 versus 10, and you can absolutely gank the offlaner or global in on somebody or anything like that. Here, this is just beautiful play by Masquerade to just camp out of vision and just watch rotations, because I want to see this from Oxygen's perspective. Okay, they know Masquerade was nearby, and then I think, ooh, the Sonic Arrow catches him, but now look, they have no vision of him.
Why is this
And so this is a concept that is very important. I was talking about this a bit with Cascon last night. Whenever an enemy hero goes out of vision, what you effectively must think about is that there is a constantly expanding range of areas that that person could potentially be in. Okay, so let's say the Stitches went out of vision, hypothetically, just for the sake of argument, 10 seconds ago. That means that the Stitches can be still camping right here. He could be 10 seconds of movement over this way. He could be 10 seconds of movement this way. But the longer he's out of vision, the bigger the hypothetical area of threat is around that Stitches on the map. So imagine whenever someone shows, or whenever someone goes out of vision, there is a circle that spawns on the minimap where that person was. And over time, this circle is expanding. That's the area that that person is threatening by being off the map. And so, if you're off the map for a really long time, then of course, everybody has to be afraid of you. If you were just showing on Minion Wave, and then you walk out, and you've only been out of vision for 2 seconds, they have a pretty good idea of where you are. And so Stitches abuses that, stays out of vision for a while, and now Oxygen just tries to rotate, and it's an easy hook for Masquerade. That's just vision control is the name of the game of high-level Heroes of the Storm, and it's always going to come up. Huge hook right there onto Hasu. He just gets killed easy peasy.
Something JPL used to like to say, he was the tank player for Dignitas, which was the best team in EU, and they made BlizzCon Finals 2018, is that high-level Heroes of the Storm is a game of information. Like, everything else is secondary. The main thing is, what information do you have? What information does your opponent have? Who has more, who has less, how can you abuse it?
And the thing is,
right?
Yeah, everything boils down to vision. If you clear a minion wave, well, guess what? Minion waves are really just walking wards. Okay, so when you clear a minion wave, you're getting rid of the enemy team's wards, and you're allowing your wards to advance deeper into the enemy team's side of the map. Camps are mobile wards that also help your other wards stay alive. It's all a game of vision at the end of the day right here. Pretty classic push. But you gotta remember, anytime you're against multiple globals, you're never really alone. Nick lands a good spear onto Dino. They try to go in.
That was a very good cleanse from Brightwing. As soon as the Sylvanas arrow came out, Brightwing instantly pressed the cleanse button.
Let me take a look at that right here. Let's watch Sylvanas' cooldown.
Critical mist on level 7.
Ooh, yeah, critical mist. Right now, it's very, very common for Brightwings to go Magic Spit into critical mist. Magic Spit lets you lower the cooldown of your Soothing Mist cleanse, and then critical mist makes it heal for much more if you actually cleanse something. And so right here, let's see, I'm gonna look for Sylvanas to arrow. And then there's the arrow right there. Wow, that cleanse is instant from Yasu.
It's literally instant.
That's insane. Okay, so Yasu hits a fat cleanse. Ooh, unfortunate timing on the Wrath of the Anguirus though, because they were in bunker. Ooh, Copen. Dude, Lurker Strain is so disruptive. Watch how Copen walks in, and then he's gonna pop his Burrow as Dehaka, and it's gonna knock back multiple people right here. Watch Burrow coming out right here, and then knocks Blaze back into it, and then also uses that displacement to help set up the stun onto Banana. And then, of course, very smart stun by Hasu right here. There's a lot that goes into shooting good, consistent Dragon Arrows on Hanzo. And we're gonna get some really good examples as these games go on of what arrows are good and what arrows are not. But I will say this, chat, okay? Arrows in general are best when they're coming from out of vision and over walls. And then a third thing, you want the path of your arrow to be as parallel as possible with the path of the enemy team. So like, say for example, if they're running down a long hallway and you shoot a dragon arrow at them, they don't have any space to miss. The path of your dragon arrow is parallel to the path the person wants to take. But if you shoot it perpendicular, let me bust out the John Madden MS Paint for this one. All right. So let's look at this. All right, we have Hanzo archery man, simple geometry. Okay. Simple geometry. You've got your bow. Whoops. And you want to shoot your big old dragon arrow at somebody, okay? If you shoot this arrow and it coincides with the path of the opponent, then this guy can run all day long in that exact direction and it's always going to hit him, right? You want this kind of situation where there is a lot of overlap between the potential path that your opponent is taking and the path your arrow is taking. And the more perpendicular, that is, they form a right angle, the more perpendicular your arrow is to the opponent, the less margin of error that you have. Okay, you can't afford to make as many mistakes, because if this person is running along and you try to hit him sideways perpendicular with the arrow, the timing has to be exact. If they're running in line with your arrow, the timing and aim can be pretty damn far off, and you can still hit them. So again, there are 3 major components. I'm actually just going to leave my expertly drawn graphics here. 3 major components to hitting good arrows.
Yes. I think it's very accurate. Didn't even use the right color for the bow.
It's yellow, you know. I don't know. Anyway, so you got 3 major components to hitting Hanzo arrows. Okay, this is in no particular order. Do not be confused by the numbering. I'm actually going to make them bullet points just so nobody thinks they're in an order. Over walls, out of vision, and parallel with enemy path. This is the ideal Hanzo arrow. They don't see you casting it, they don't see it coming, it's coming from out of vision, it's coming from over a wall, and it lines up perfectly with where the enemy team is going. This arrow that we just saw mid lane, it wasn't from over a wall, but it was parallel with the enemy team's path because they were likely to go straight away. I mean, kind of over a wall. I mean, I guess. Over the
fort, right? They didn't have vision until. Oh no, it didn't. Never mind. It was not over a wall. Sure.
So look, it just entered enemy team's vision right there. If we're actually going to watch this from CM's perspective, and watch when arrow is coming in the middle of the thick of combat right here. And they only just saw it when it entered right there. And keep in mind, he's out of vision, so they don't even hear the sound.
Yeah, that's the main thing. You can react to sounds much quicker than you can react to seeing things.
If it's already out of vision, why is over the wall so important? Because they don't see it coming, and Heroes of the Storm is not responding. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Hold on. You guys got to see this chat. Let me see. Look. So that is a fantastic question, Raven's friend. We're just getting absolutely borked here by this. It looks like HotS just crashed on me, so I'm gonna go ahead and restart it. But you asked
solo lobby as well next time. Then.
Okay. And then I'll just stream it over Discord to you, and that'll make it a little bit more stable. Watching replays with friends is kind of buggy. But Raven's friend, I want to get to your question. Okay, so if it's already out of vision, why is over the wall so important? Okay, so if you're out of vision with Hanzo Arrow, they don't hear you casting it, so they don't get that audio cue. They don't see it coming. That's very, very important. So then you're like, well, if they don't see it coming, then why do I need to be over the wall? The wall means they have even less time to react to it. Because you saw how when that arrow was coming, CM got to see it, right? They had a very short reaction time, but they did indeed get to see it when it entered the edge of their vision radius. When the arrow is coming from over a wall, you don't see it as early because you don't have vision over that wall. So you get even less time to react to the arrow. I don't mean like the Hanzo is behind a wall 3 miles away, you know what I mean? Like if you're near a wall and you get hit by an arrow that comes over that wall, you get extremely little time to actually react to that arrow coming out.
Yeah, you could argue it's impossible to react if it's over a wall and you're standing next to it. That was actually, on Oxygen Season 1, we kept getting completely destroyed by standing next to walls. There would always be an Imperius on the other side of the wall, and he would just hit 3-man spears from going over. So we had to drill, not standing next to walls, so that we wouldn't be punished as hard for anything like Hanzo, Arrow, Imperius Cube, anything that can go over walls, Muradin jump.
Yeah, that's also part of why Yrel and Anub'arak are so strong and competitive, and Muradin, these are heroes that can aggress onto you from behind walls. And so you don't get vision of them approaching onto you. Walls are just another way to abuse vision in this game when you have characters that can circumvent them. And it's also part of the reason why Crowd Surfer is so popular for ETC players in high ranks as well. Did I go past the moment that we saw? I don't think so.
It was 8:30 on the timestamp on the replay timestamp in the bottom left.
All right, Heroes of the Storm is not responding. I'm going to boot this up one more time, and we're just going to take it real slow. All right? Heroes of the Storm is not a bucking, thrashing young mare eager to go about onto the breeze and feel the wind in its mane. Heroes of the Storm is an aging horse with tender knees. That I think this is not a great analogy because old horses,
it's
dying horses kind of get shot.
Analogy.
But you got to be real cautious with it. You got to easy now, HotS, easy now. It's going to be okay, okay? Nobody's rushing you into anything, all right? I know you got those kind of arthritic knees. You know, we kind of lean you into it, but you're going to get to go out and ride a little bit more, okay? We're going to get you out onto those pastures. We just got to accommodate HotS a little bit, okay? Give it a couple sugar cubes. Let it know that it's going to be okay. All right? Let me stream Heroes the Storm here over to Cascon so he can see what's going on in the action. To the glue farm, no! HotS is not going to turn into glue. HotS is going to get to go and retire on a farm and run around with all the other animals, just like my hamster, okay? All right.
That did not go where I thought it was going to.
Okay. We've got it going decently quick, but not at the fastest speed possible. HotS, you take your time, okay? You take your time. I don't want to scare you. All right.
This is only the first replay. Oh no.
Yeah. But this is a learning process. We're learning what we can get away with here. I can't just stop, start. It will crash. But let's see. We're good. Okay, so the next thing I have to talk about here in my notes, 6 minutes was a good example of how Imperius is able to use setup. Let's go a little bit faster. We're not stopping and starting. We're just increasing the speed. HotS, hold steady.
Oh no. This is risky.
Hold steady.
This is risky.
I have a moment at 6 minutes that I say demonstrates how Imp is at his best when he's following up on CC. It's this kill on a Masquerade. The arrow sets up the Stormbolt, which sets up the Wrath of the Anguirus. Okay, notice that he's not just casting Wrath raw, and when he did cast Wrath raw, he missed because everybody got in bunker earlier. But when Imp has setup, his Q needs setup, his ult needs setup. When he gets those things, Imperius is such a strong character, for sure.
Actually, an interesting use for Wrath that I don't think we see it in this series, but Madra, the player for 30k, specifically used it for, was for an ice block. You would Wrath someone just for the survivability and move him back into your team. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of similar abilities like that. Like Kharazim sometimes use seven-sided strike that way.
Seven-sided can be.
Lieutenant Morales Medevac is an ice block.
Yeah, Medevac used to always be used for ice block.
Mm-hmm. And so now here, we're gonna go. This is just more of the same stuff that we saw before. This is that team fight. Okay. And so that arrow, it came into vision around here, guys, all right? It came into vision. Oh, okay, you do see my cursor. It came into vision around here. If there was hypothetically a wall right here, then they wouldn't see the arrow until it came over the wall right here. Alrighty. And now we're where we should be.
So even though that fight was 5v4 for Chili Mountain at the start, they were still disadvantaged, right? Because there's more than one advantage you can get in HotS. It's not just level 13, level 10, 5v4. There's tons of other things. So they were like pushing underneath Oxygen's fort, while Oxygen had all of their cooldowns. And Chili Mountain, they didn't have everything. And
clumping into arrow is how you win games.
So that's called mockery trolling. If you come for arrow, then you got problems.
Alright, let's see. 950. I have here a note about Stitches being unable to dodge Wrath of the Anguirus at roughly 950. So let's go ahead and skip over to that. And here we can see.
Excellent.
Yeah, Stitches walks up, gets absolutely chunked. Ooh, good dodge by Bad Benny. But we're going to see how Stitches... Oh, that's a good arrow. Stitches gets jumped on by Bad Benny. Heavy impact from Bad Benny sets up Stormbolt. Stormbolt from Bad Benny serves as setup for Imperius' Wrath of the Anguirus. And then check this out. Emerald Wind. Notice how Yasuo uses this, okay? This is kind of like a pseudo-horrify from Yasuo, in that you're splitting up the enemy team with this directional push. Stitches gets pushed away from his team, and Emerald Wind ensures that no one is able to follow up to help Masquerade. So Yasuo uses it beautifully to disrupt the enemy team here, and I want to point out that with this Emerald Wind, this entire draft seems like it's built to just make Stitches and Blaze have a bad time, okay? Because CM, really just in almost their whole draft except Sylvanas, they are very susceptible to displacements, particularly with Blaze and with these Stitches, but their entire team to an extent. Greymane can't jump in. He can't Dark Flight in through an Emerald Wind. he just bounces right off. The Stitches can't take anybody to go and gorge them into his own team if he's getting Wrath of the Anguirist, and if he's getting Tongue Dragged, and if he's getting Emerald Wind. They have 3 different displacements on the side of Oxygen into 2 frontliners that don't have the mobility or any tools to deal with displacements at all. And so over and over.
Rhaegar,
what's up?
Even into Rhaegar, because Ancestral and Cleanse range are very short. So if you put those displacements on him and you just displace his teammate onto the other side of the map, he can't heal it. Whereas a Brightwing could Z on the target, and Anduin might be able to pull, but Rhaegar's ranges are too short for that.
Yep, for those who are unaware, Rhaegar has the shortest range cleanse in the entire game. Rhaegar's cleanse...
It's the same with Lilies, I think. The same point.
I think Lily's is longer, because I took notes on this last night while we were watching. Let me go ahead and look through right here. Okay, so Rhaegar has 6 range on cleanse, and it goes up to Uther's. Lily is 7.5. Lily has 1.5 more range. I just pasted in the chat the various cleanse ranges on these characters so you guys can see what exactly we're talking about there. And that comes up. That comes up a lot in these series. Rhaegar's limited range on cleanse, how close he has to get to you, is a major problem because, for one, Rhaegar's bite baits a lot of people. A lot of people just get baited by biting in. This is more a ladder thing, but it happens even in CCL a bit. And then after you bite in, yeah, you did a little bit of damage, but you're now in the middle of things with no escape tool, no mobility. So biting in is very often a massive mistake on Rhaegar. And then
you just want to be a good little doggo and just sit back, ancestral your teammate, cleanse your teammate.
And then it's so hard because you need to stay not clumped with your team and you want to sit back, but you're very leashed by the fact that you have the shortest range cleanse in the game. And so that's going to come up multiple times here. More in the following series, because Smexy plays Rhaegar a couple times in the Granite Gaming versus Diamond Hands series, but that's going to come up. And that Emerald Wind splitting the team just makes it so hard for Rhaegar to get cleanse value. You have a shorter cleanse, both in terms of range and duration, and into all this displacement, it's just a pain. Copen right there lurking, trying to get the pick onto Dino.
He's just getting vision for his team, so his team's about to push.
And then 955. Oh, I'm looking at the GG versus Diamond Hands series for my notes because that's where my cleanse information was.
We're at 10:20 now, so.
And then I have in my notes here that at 12 minutes we see another beautiful example of the Wrath of the Anguirus Emerald Wind combo. Emerald Wind was also used in Masters Clash, by the way, for those of you who saw me casting that. If you didn't see me casting that, the VODs are up on Twitch, and I'm planning on uploading them to YouTube throughout the week right here. Notice how CM knows Oxygen isn't there, so they just push really quick with Sylve. Masquerade looks for the hook combo onto Muradin, but his team is too split to actually do anything. Like, Stitches brings opponents to his team. He doesn't do much on his own, so if you don't have teammates ready to kill, then nothing happens right there. It's just kind of an awkward split, and we're about to see that same combo with Wrath of the Anguirus. Dude, what is that triple hook? Watch this, watch this. Yasu gets in between the Wrath of the Anguirus target and his teammates and hits this perfectly to zone them out from helping yet again. It's just another beautifully placed split from Yasu. And then also Grubby, I think, is actually one of the people who pointed this out. Grubby talks about how Phase Shift can help Brightwing have the survivability that she needs to be able to look for those Emerald Wind positions without dying. Because it allows you to just dodge a couple abilities here and there when you don't have the ability to just zip-zop all over the place.
Yeah, because normally when you play Brightwing, your margin of safety is very high. You have Blink Hill allows you just to go wherever you want, and you can Z on anyone and be fine. But without that survivability, if you go Emerald Wind, it's very scary if you're not face out. You have because then you have nothing. If you make a single mistake, you will honestly just die.
And then here we see Muradin hanging out in a situation where he has 2 dead, and he's just looking for the stall here because he knows that the death timers are about equal. Like, these death timers are shockingly even between these 2 teams. Rhaegar's just going to take a little longer, and Bad Benny can just hang out here. Notably, part of why he has the freedom to do this is because he's Muradin. So you're very mobile, you've got your expendable HP, you have Avatar available. Not actually right now here for Bad Benny, it is on CD, but it's also Bad Benny's able to play this because the double global as well. He knows that he's got the homies with him at all times. And at this point, he's just playing for stall so Hanzo can come up. Ooh. This team, again, just every kind of displacement, every kind of CC, it feels like their front line is so vulnerable to it.
That's a very nice juke on hook.
They just get it right there. Let's see, and then I have...
Stepping up for vision again, making sure Chili Mountain is not allowed to do this camp.
A lot of bad tanks here would just walk up and hit that fort, but that fort was already low to his team's damage. Is Yasu still cleanse 4/7? He is indeed. I'm flashing the talents right there. Sorry if you can't see the leftmost right there. But that was just so big. A lot of tanks would have gone there and hit that fort. And then the good tanks will sit here and watch the flanks. So Bad Benny, when he went up to the siege camp, was simultaneously watching for the potential of a flank, making sure Stitches can't try to get a hook over this wall, and making sure the enemy team can't get this camp right here, rather than just sort of uselessly providing a very small amount of extra DPS. And then you see, Bad Benny, he's just so able to just sit out by himself if he knows he's got a tap, he knows he's got Avatar, he knows he's got E. Murden spends a lot of time scouting.
He's got the Brightwing Z as well, right?
Yeah.
Even if he does get hooked, he just gets Z'd, Emerald win, then now suddenly you're the ones going on Cherry Mountain rather than them going on you.
And then now we have both teams trading out right here. I don't plan on going over just every single detail. We would be here for weeks.
But for ages.
Yeah, it's just we're just looking through for good things to point out for players to learn from as a way to figure out how to pick up on these games. And dude, look at this.
That's CC chain.
This whole game is just Stitches getting bullied by the massive level of displacement on the side of Oxygen.
That was a very good bunker and a very good cleanse as well, but it doesn't matter. Into this much displacement, he can't do anything, he can't play the game.
Because to get into bunker, you need to be near bunker and you need to be able to channel to get into bunker. And that's just not going to happen when E-Wind is zoning you off of it, when Drag is zoning you off of it, when you're CC'd for so long by everybody. Right here. And the tank matchups, like you hear all the time in SL, oh, don't focus tank, don't focus tank. But the tank matchups and abusing what the enemy team's tank has is such a central part of Heroes of the Storm. If you're up against an ETC, you know, hey, we can kill their main tank. We can block his power slides with certain abilities. If you're up against a Mal'Ganis, you know he's really weak to CC. There's a lot that goes into it as we see. Look at this CC chain. The members of Oxygen aren't even all the way following up on Dino, but they were still able to hit him with everything. No, that was a little bit awkward. I wonder, why did they not commit to this as hard as they could have? Was it just the presence of the fort, or?
Well, Bad Bunny was already half when they wanted to commit. Right now, they don't want to tank the fort. And there's no bushes, right? The closest bush for Dahaka is like a 3-second walk away.
Yeah, they don't have Dahaka yet. I think that may have been a little premature jumping in from Bad Benny at all before they have Dahaka, but if it forced out the Ancestral, it would have been good. Ancestor right there does get forced, but this all feels so awkward. Bad Bunny goes in, misses a stun, and then looks for the kill once he's out. Yeah, it feels a little bit disjointed, and they still almost killed the Grey Mane, even in spite of that. Oxygen's still okay. Rehgar was 2-8 this weekend by your count, Fish? Yikes. I mean, like, you can see consistently when we get into the Granite Gaming versus Diamond Hand series, you're gonna see Rehgar's range limitations really come into play when Smexy and Breeze are on this very same map.
I think most of why it's going to be so obvious for the Granite Gaming series is because Smexy was a really good Rehgar before he got reworked, but the rework removed a lot of his range. Oh, that's another good. We're just going to see a lot of his ultis.
Or Masquerade just ends up super deep, and wow, that hook almost landed right there. I just want to take one more look at that team fight, see if we can say just anything that helps contribute as to what's going on. CM is, of course, down 19 as they step up for this. Oh shit, my fingers my fingers were not where I tried to put them.
I saw a lot of that team fight. That was it's a good discussion we had there.
Yeah, everybody, we all caught that, chat. All right. CM at this point would love to just make something happen, but they're down 19. And Bad Benny, notably, guys, watch how often the frontline players in CCL are jumping in from over walls. And the dwarf launch from Murden at level 16, extra 40% range on that dwarf toss, means that Bad Benny can achieve those chase angles and those sudden bursts from out of vision from so much farther away right there. And just the second CM starts to step up down 20, they're just in there.
So the reason that fight went so bad for Oxygen is because the target that was Emerald Winded was not the target that Nick wanted to go on. Nick was on the other side of the fight. So they couldn't kill, because you need, the Imperious is how you kill things this game, so if he's not on the target, you're not going to get the kill.
Everyone talking about Sylvanas, who was 6'8" this weekend. No one talking about the 8-0 Anduin. Anduin is kind of crazy in that you can play him aggro, and you can also play him as just like a sort of pseudo-Medivh, just like save people that absolutely deserve to die. So he can simultaneously be good with aggressive comps and good into aggressive comps, and I think that's very valuable.
I honestly think if Anduin was just his trait button, then there would still be games where he's viable to pick up. Like, if he had nothing else.
Sometimes the enemy comp is just so focused around getting singular pickoffs, and if they can't achieve that, then their whole identity just collapses.
Like, I mean, even Oxygen's comp here, right? If there was an Anduin from the side of Chiller Mountain, anytime Stitches got wrapped in, you just pull him back to your team.
Mm-hmm. And anytime they try to CC chain somebody with all this single target blow up, because to an extent, whenever a team has Imperious, they're looking for single target blow up, because it's kind of the only thing the character does with his damage structure. Alrighty, and then 17-0. I have two more final notes here. So it's 17 minutes right here. Bad Benny is just lurking. Again, this is what you should be doing as Muradin. He's buying time for his teammates to come up right here. And they know, by the way, with these death timers, even though Bright Wings is slightly longer than Blaze, she's always going to get here before the Blaze does, because she can, of course, Z in. And Bad Benny knows that. They have a 5v4 right here. A lot of players did not pick up on this 5v4 in SL, even though it's like super obvious to CCL players, of course, and like GM players, is that with that Brightwing, you have the option for a 5v4, but Masquerade actually canceled the Brightwing phase shift with Gorge right there, which is a pretty smart move, pretty shrewd right there. It stalls the opportunity for them to get a 5v4, but of course...
Oh, that was really good, yeah. I didn't notice that in the game, actually.
The Wrath of the Anguirus is just so huge. Yeah, Stitches is just screwed. Every time Stitches gets displaced, there are certain frontliners that just are very dependent on achieving proper positioning and also lack mobility. Stitches and Arthez are probably the two biggest examples of this, and so both of them just hate getting displaced. All right, they want to be able to punish you, and they just can't do it. And look, see, Bad Benny comes in over the wall right here. Notice how Bad Benny is not just sitting in Fiesta fighting. Specifically, keep your eyes on him here, okay? We're watching what Bad Benny's camera was focused on in this fight, and I want you to see how he just dips out of vision and baits the enemy team. Look, the enemy team can't see him right now, okay? They don't know if he's wrapping around over here, but Bad Benny is out of vision. And then, watch this, watch this. Still no vision of Bad Benny? There he is. Like a fucking jump scare, dude.
Started with a Bad Bunny in your backline.
He just basically materializes into existence. Look at this.
This was so good vision play.
And this is just something...
It's a game of information, and they have more information than Oxygen. They know Bad Benny's there, and he can just jump over at any point.
And we talk about, I see in the chat, never realized he played Vision that well. Every high-level tank player that is truly good at playing tank spends a lot of time out of Vision. Okay? What is enabling Imperious to hit so many ultis? It's usually a hard one to land. Imperious has a lot of setup CC on his teammates. Look at how much CC is on his team. It's huge. All of his teammates have stuns. All of them. Brightwing has poly, technically, but, you know.
Every time Imperious missed, every time he missed was when he didn't have setup. Every other time he hit it. So. And
also he's against Stitches, who has no good way of dodging the Wrath. You know, it's like this is perfect scenario for Wrath, okay? You're against a hero that has a very big hitbox in Stitches. He is really weak to getting hit by Wrath because Wrath cancels Gorge, and he's really bad at getting out of the bad position that Wrath puts him in. And he has no mobility to dodge the hook. Really big hitbox, can't dodge Wrath, and also sucks at getting out of Wrath position. So Wrath is just so huge in this matchup, specifically right there.
And counters Scorch.
It just has a million reasons why it's insane this game. And Oxygen stacking up displacement when they were against a team that is so weak to displacement is just so smart in the draft. And so, like, guys, look right here. Look, I want to show you this again, okay? From right here, 1731, Bad Benny's out of vision, and we're looking at CM's vision. Nothing. No Bad Benny, no Bad Benny. Holy fuck, where'd he come from? And he's able to abuse that because he has Dwarf Toss, because he has the level 16 Dwarf talent. Dwarf Launch, I want to say is what it's called. Yeah, Dwarf Launch gives him the range necessary to just be uber out of vision. They think they have a kill on Nick, so of course when you think you have a free kill, everybody goes in and tries to hit that guy, and they 4-man clump directly into the Bad Benny flank, and they all just get fucking deleted.
Bad Benny was arguably the second best vision control tank in HGC. So, and HGC is very high level gameplay.
Oh yeah, and HGC compared to CCL, their understanding of rotations and visions was just miles ahead of CCL.
So like now, Bad Benny is 100% the best vision control tank in the game. Anything that can go over walls, like Muradin, abuses vision control really well. So if you see Bad Benny on Muradin and Nubarak, Tyrael, anything that can jump over a wall, then you need to be afraid.
And I just want to say, if you're a frontline player trying to figure out how to be more threatening with your kill pressure and how to get kills, you're going to see over and over again Muradins, Anubaraks, and Urels sitting over walls to jump in on fights. You're going to see that constantly in just all professional Heroes of the Storm play. Alrighty, let's take a look. That was game number 1. We went over it for 55 minutes, so let's go a little bit quicker. Let's go a little bit quicker in looking at the next games.
Right, I think we have some less notes on the next game, so it should be fine.